Good afternoon. Thanks for waiting for me. I apologize being a little bit late. I understand that we had a little comment about the start of the session and some of the things that we're looking at, and I'm happy to answer questions you might have. Just as a couple of comments, just want to reiterate some of the things that we've talked about in the past, but that we believe to be true, which is, number one, we are very proud of the work that we did in the budget in the last 2 years. We think we've left the state in great shape, especially compared to where it was 2 years ago. There is a deficit that's being shown in this coming biennium, about $1.1 million, but that's about a $5 billion betterment from where we were 2 years ago. And in the out biennium, according to the Minnesota Management Budget, we are going to show a surplus. So I would argue that we are on the course to structurally balanced budgets. We have additional revenue coming into the state at current tax rates. And so we think that the way that we approach the budget, which is to try to manage the growth in spending, try to set priorities, try to do the things that are expected in ways that make sense, look for reforms and efficiencies, and don't burden the economy with additional costs to do business in the state of Minnesota. Those things are sound principles. We use them. We think that the forecasts have shown that those things have been effective. We are very concerned about what's going on in the national economy, the federal government, the kinds of budget struggles they're having, the impact that may have on our economy. We think this is a time for prudence and a time for caution and not a time to blow out the budget with excessive spending. So we hope that as we go forward, we're looking forward to working with our colleagues. There's been a lot of talk about bipartisanship. We fully embrace that. Obviously, you know, they don't need Republicans to work with them to pass bills. They've got a governor who's going to be working with them. They have sufficient majorities on everything except the bonding bill to pass things on their own. But we think that in a bipartisan manner, Republicans should be involved in the discussion, that the ideas that we believe, the ideas that are important to the people of the state of Minnesota, those also should be a part of the discussion, part of the bill. So we look forward to working with them in a bipartisan spirit to bring about bills and solutions that can be embraced by all Minnesotans, not just by the members of one party in the state. So just with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Senator, they were critical of comments yesterday. I think it was actually Kurt Dowd, at least among those who made them, about how the GOP managed to balance a $6 billion budget deficit without any tax increases. Senator Bach just told the GOP to cool their jets. He doesn't think it were all that successful, and most people would agree. What's your response to that?
Well, I think Senator Bach is wrong about that. I think most people would agree that if you look at where we were 2 years ago and you go, turn the clock back to the press conferences that were going on in this building and in the Capitol 2 years ago, we were talking about a $6 billion deficit, a $6 billion problem. And we were being told by Senator Bach and Representative Thiessen and Governor Dayton that the only way we could manage through that crisis, that fiscal crisis, was to have a massive tax increase on the state of Minnesota. That's what we were told. We didn't do that. We had a very hard, strong, long-fought, struggle over the budget. We reached a compromise with the governor at the end of the day, but we did not raise taxes to do that. And since that time, we've slowed down the growth in spending, and we've seen the revenues exceed the forecast. And so what we believe is that if you put in place some restraint on spending, set priorities, work for reform and efficiency, you will get more revenue. We've seen additional revenue come into the budget at current tax rates. I think the most recent budget showed about $850 million in additional revenue. That's quite a lot. That's a lot more that they've got to work with in this budget than what we had. They've got the additional revenue. We've restored the rainy day funds, these accounts that the state relies on. So we think that in terms of where they are, the challenges they face in this budget, they are certainly there. But compared to what we faced 2 years ago, we think that we did a very good job of putting the state back on course to structurally balanced fiscal management.